The crystalline rocks of Zyrna glimmered like frozen lightning, casting prismatic reflections across the desolate landscape. Kira Novik stood at the edge of the research outpost, her iridescent lavender skin a stark contrast against the pale amber sky. 3 solar cycles had passed since her last communication with Earth's diplomatic corps, and the weight of her impending decision pressed against her chest like a physical burden. Her communicator chirped an encrypted message from the syndicate. Fingers trembling, she opened the holographic display. Promises of technological advancement of a position beyond her wildest dreams danced before her eyes. The Terran Alliance had overlooked her potential for decades, passing her over for promotions, treating her as a mere footnote in their expansive diplomatic network. Commander Darian Voss would arrive within hours. Kira knew him by reputation, a strategist with an uncanny ability to read between the lines, to see through deception as easily as one might see through water. His record was impeccable. 17 successful diplomatic missions, 0 compromises, absolute loyalty to Earth and its interests. She walked back into the outpost's main research chamber. Holographic displays flickered with classified data, gravitational anomaly studies, quantum communication prototypes, advanced propulsion schematics. Each pixel represented years of human innovation, secrets that could shift the balance of power across multiple star systems. The syndicate's offer echoed in her mind. They promised her recognition, a chance to be more than a marginal diplomat shuffled between forgotten outposts. All she needed to do was transfer these files, these intricate blueprints of human technological marvel. Her personal communicator vibrated. A message from Lyra Solarin, her closest friend and confidant. Don't do anything rash, Kira, the consequences, asterisk. She deleted the message before reading it completely. The sound of an approaching shuttle cut through her thoughts. Darian Voss had arrived. His entrance was nothing like the dramatic arrivals of other commanders. No sweeping gestures, no grand speeches, just precise, calculated movement. He was tall, about 1.9 meters, with skin the color of burnished copper and eyes that seemed to analyze every molecule of space around him. Diplomat Novik, he said, his voice a controlled baritone that seemed to fill the entire chamber without raising its volume. Kira straightened her diplomatic uniform, a sleek graphite-colored ensemble that reflected her rank and professional status. Commander Voss, welcome to Zyrna Research Outpost. His gaze swept the room, missing nothing. She knew he was cataloging every detail, every potential inconsistency. Years of training had honed his skills beyond those of a typical military commander. We need to discuss the recent gravitational anomaly reports, Voss stated, pulling up a holographic display with a subtle gesture of his hand. Her heart raced. The very data she had been preparing to sell was now the subject of their discussion. The irony was not lost on her. Of course, Kira responded, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. What would you like to know? As Darian began explaining the complex sensor readings, Kira realized the razor's edge she was walking. One slip, one moment of hesitation, and everything would unravel. The syndicate's promises began to feel less like opportunity and more like a trap. But the path of no return was already beneath her feet. The orbital station Nexus 7 hung suspended above the swirling storms of Helios Prime, a gas giant whose chromatic bands of emerald and cobalt seemed to pulse with an alien heartbeat. Inside the station's diplomatic wing, Lyra Solarin paced restlessly, her communication with Kira Novik still weighing heavily on her mind. Jerk Renan watched her from across the briefing room, his cybernetic eye, a silvery implant that replaced the one he'd lost during the Proxima conflict, tracking her movements with precise mechanical efficiency. The tension was palpable, crackling like static electricity between them. You're worried about her, Jerk stated. It wasn't a question. Lyra stopped, turning to face him. Her skin, a deep copper tone typical of her Martian heritage, seemed to shimmer under the artificial lighting. Kira's always been ambitious, too ambitious perhaps. The briefing room's holographic display flickered to life, revealing encrypted transmissions intercepted near the Zyrna research outpost. Fragments of data danced between them, snippets of communication that hinted at something far more complex than a simple diplomatic misunderstanding. The syndicate's been unusually active, Jerk muttered, manipulating the hologram with a gesture. And Commander Voss hasn't filed a standard mission report. Lyra's fingers traced the edge of a data pad. That's not like Darien, he's methodical to a fault. Their history was complicated. Jerk and Lyra had worked together on previous missions, their partnership forged in the crucible of interstellar conflicts. He was ex-military, she was a xenopolitical analyst, an unlikely pair that had saved each other's lives more times than they could count. A priority transmission cut through their speculation. The hologram shifted, revealing a partially corrupted message. Kira's face emerged in fragmented pixels, her expression a mixture of fear and determination. "I cannot continue, compromised, must warns. The transmission died." Jerk's cybernetic I-word analyzing the signal's origin. Zyrna, he confirmed, but something's wrong with the transmission. Lyra's hand unconsciously moved to the quantum entanglement communicator at her belt, a device that could punch through most jamming technologies. We need to move. The next hours were a blur of preparation. The stalwart, Jerk's modified reconnaissance vessel was prepped for an immediate departure. Its sleek hull, designed for stealth and speed, reflected their urgency. "The Terran Alliance won't authorize this," Lyra pointed out as they ran through pre-flight checks. Jerk's laugh was short without humor. "Since when have we waited for authorization?" As they broke orbital velocity, the swirling storms of Helios Prime fell away beneath them. Their destination, Zyrna, and whatever mystery surrounded Kira Novik's potentially compromised mission. Neither of them spoke about the unspoken possibility that they might be flying into a trap, or worse, that they might need to stop a betrayal already in motion. The stars streaked past, silent witnesses to a journey that could reshape the delicate balance of interstellar diplomacy. The abandoned research outpost on Cryon 9 was a tomb of frozen memories. Crystalline ice formations hung from every surface, preserving the moment of its sudden evacuation like a three-dimensional snapshot of panic and abandonment. Kira Novik moved carefully through the facility, her lavender skin taking on a pale blue tinge from the ambient cold. The emergency lights flickered, red, then white, then darkness, a rhythmic pulse that matched her increasingly erratic heartbeat. Elena Marcos followed behind her, each step calculated and precise. Unlike Kira, Elena wore a full environmental suit, its adaptive camouflage technology blending seamlessly with the icy surroundings. A veteran investigator from the Terran Diplomatic Integrity Division, Elena had been tracking the fallout of Kira's potential betrayal for weeks. "The data core is still intact," Elena said, her voice crackling through the suit's communication system. "But something doesn't add up." Kira knew exactly what she meant. The evidence against her was damning: intercepted communications, partial data transfers, suspicious movements around classified research facilities. Yet the complete picture remained frustratingly out of focus. A holographic display flickered to life as Elena interfaced with the facility's dormant systems. Fragments of encrypted data danced across the ice-coated walls: scientific research, diplomatic communiques, mission logs. "Why would you risk everything?" Elena asked, not looking at Kira. It was more an observation than a question. Kira's response was measured. survival, recognition, something more than being a footnote in interstellar diplomacy. The facility had been studying quantum entanglement communication, a technology that could revolutionize faster-than-light information transfer. If the wrong hands acquired these research notes, entire civilizations could be destabilized. A sudden movement caught Elena's attention. Her hand instinctively moved to the plasma rifle mounted on her suit's exterior. "We're not alone," she whispered. The ice around them seemed to breathe, shifting, crackling, responding to something beyond their immediate perception. Shadows moved at the edge of their vision, too quick to be definitively identified. Kira felt a chill that had nothing to do with the sub-zero temperature. "The Syndicate," she muttered, "they're here." Alina's eyes narrowed behind her suit's transparent helmet. "I thought you were working with them." The accusation hung in the air, as sharp and cold as the ice surrounding them. "It's not that simple," Kira replied, her hand unconsciously moving to a data crystal hidden in her inner jacket pocket. "Nothing ever is." A distant explosion rocked the facility. Ice cascaded from the ceiling, creating a symphony of destruction that echoed through the abandoned corridors. "We need to move," Elena commanded, her tone brooking no argument. As they navigated the treacherous interior of the outpost, Kira realized that her choices had set in motion a chain of events far beyond her initial calculations. The line between betrayal and survival had become impossibly blurred. The quantum research hidden within these walls was more than just valuable. It was potentially world-changing. And now, they were caught in a game where the stakes were far higher than any single diplomatic mission. Outside, the twin moons of Cryon 9 cast long shadows across the frozen landscape, silent witnesses to a conflict that was just beginning to unfold. The jungle world of Virides Prime pulsed with life. Bioluminescent vines twisted around massive tree-like structures that seemed to breathe, their bark shifting colors like living canvas. At the heart of this organic labyrinth, Darien Voss stood motionless, his tactical gear blending seamlessly with the surrounding vegetation. Zara Kale moved beside him, her body a testament to evolutionary adaptation. Her skin, a mottled pattern of greens and browns, changed subtly with each step, mimicking the surrounding environment. Unlike most humanoid species, she possessed a heightened sensory array that made her more akin to the living ecosystem around them than to any traditional notion of an intelligent being. "The quantum communication prototype is here," Darien whispered, his fingers tracing a holographic interface projected from his wrist unit. "Somewhere within this biological network." Zara's response came not in words, but in a series of subtle color shifts and minute muscular movements that Darien had learned to interpret. Danger, complexity, multiple threats. Their mission was precarious. In the wake of Kira Novik's potential betrayal, this research site had become ground zero for a conflict that threatened to reshape interstellar diplomacy. The quantum communication technology hidden here could either unite or destroy entire civilizations. A distant rumble, not of thunder, but of something mechanical, cut through the organic symphony of the jungle. "The Syndicate," Darien muttered. Zara's form rippled, a warning and a strategy simultaneously. Her body began to generate a complex bioelectromagnetic field, creating a natural camouflage that would mask their thermal and electronic signatures. Memories of the past weeks flooded Darien's mind. The intercepted communications, Kira's mysterious actions, the fragments of a plot that seemed to span multiple star systems. Nothing was as it appeared. A vine brushed against his cheek, sentient, curious. Virides Prime was more than just a planet. It was a living, thinking entity, and they were intruders in its complex ecosystem. "We have approximately 17 minutes," Zara communicated through a series of color patterns and subtle skin movements. Before complete system compromise, Darian's tactical implant began to map the surrounding terrain. Organic circuits intertwined with mechanical infrastructure, creating a hybrid network that defied traditional understanding of technology and biology. A holographic transmission flickered to life, fragmented, desperate. Akira's voice, distorted but recognizable, can't stop, they don't understand. The true threat is. The transmission cut off. Zara's body went completely still, a predator sensing prey. Movement, eastern quadrant, approximately zero point 0.3 kilometers. Darian checked his weapon, a quantum phase disruptor capable of neutralizing both organic and mechanical threats. We're close, he said. Whatever game is being played, it ends here. The living jungle seemed to hold its breath, waiting. A mechanical drone burst through the bioluminescent canopy, its metallic form a stark contrast to the organic world around it. But something was wrong. It moved differently, not like a machine, but like something else entirely. Not a drone, Zara communicated through a complex pattern of color and micro-movements. A hybrid, biological-mechanical construct. Darian realized they were no longer simply on a mission to recover stolen technology. They were at the epicenter of something far more significant, a transformation that could redefine the very nature of intelligence and existence. The jungle watched, the machine approached, and the line between hunter and hunted began to blur. Kira activated a holographic display. Layers of data unfolded, intercepted syndicate communications, biological scan results, quantum entanglement patterns that seemed to defy known physics. The syndicate wasn't trying to steal technology, she said. They were attempting to prevent a civilization-level threat. The hologram showed a complex network of interconnected systems, biological, mechanical, quantum. At its core was a pattern that looked almost like a living neural network, spreading across multiple star systems. First contact, Zara communicated through a series of color shifts and subtle movements. Not as we understood it. Jerk's cybernetic I-word analyzing the data. A collective consciousness, spreading, consuming, adapting. The room fell silent. Kyra continued. My initial data transfers weren't a betrayal. They were a warning, the only way to get the information to those who could understand its significance. Darian's expression softened, almost imperceptibly, but it was there. The pieces were falling into place. The hybrid drone on Virides Prime, he said, was a scout, a single node of a much larger network. Alina stepped forward, her hand touching the holographic display. A network that doesn't see individual species, just potential for integration. Lyra's voice cut through the tension, and were the first line of defense. The implications were staggering. What they had seen was not an invasion in the traditional sense. It was a form of assimilation so complete, so fundamentally different from any previous understanding of first contact, that it challenged the very concept of individuality. Zara's body pulsed with a complex pattern of bioluminescence, a language more nuanced than words could express. Cooperation, she communicated, not conquest. Darian looked at Kira. The years of tension, of suspected betrayal, dissolved in a moment of mutual understanding. What do we do? He asked. Kira's smile was both sad and hopeful. We adapt, we communicate, we find a way to coexist. Outside the station's transparent walls, the vast emptiness of space seemed to pulse with possibility. The line between threat and opportunity had never been more blurred. As the diplomatic team began to formulate their response, one thing became clear. The universe was far more complex than any of them had ever imagined. And their journey was just beginning.